Hi, everyone. We're just going to give everybody a moment to join, and then we'll get started. All right. So, hi, everybody. Welcome to today's session. We're really excited to have you here for today's deep dive into the latest innovations from Atlassian, fresh off the heels of Team 25. So, whether you're a longtime user or just curious about what's new, this session is going to be really packed with insights from Team 25 and will help you stay ahead of the curve. And so, leading us through this exploration is bryan.darr, who's going to guide us through all of the updates like Rovo's AI capabilities, Rovo for All, and strategic planning tools like Focus and Talent. So, by all means, Bryan, take it away.
Thanks, Robert. And hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. This is one of my favorite topics, and it's been a week since I've had to think about it, so it's going to be really fun diving back into it. So, Atlassian's giant annual conference, at least one of the two, happened 2 weeks ago in Anaheim, California, and just like all of them, it was really, really exciting, and there was a lot of cool product announcements. Some product announcements that we've already heard of, and some things going GA out of beta, and new things in beta. Um, but I think the general takeaway is there's a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline, which is, the takeaway every year. So one of the things to know though is that everything they announce, they always put like a giant asterisk next to it, and it's always, "Hey, this may or may not happen." Um, I think that they have to do that due to a combination of being like a publicly traded company and just like all software, they're never really quite sure what's going to happen business wise, and so things change, and product owners learn new information. I'm sure there's a Big Lebowski quote somewhere in there about things changing, and so whatever we say here may or may not be true in 6 months, but it should be directionally true. So that'll help. So yeah, this by the way is Confluence. This is the Confluence presenter mode. So that's fun. And we can just scroll right through and talk about all the big changes. So um, yeah, is that good, Robert? Anything else to cover before we get going?
That's perfect. Please.
Awesome. All right. So the first thing to talk about, because we're going to use different words on this podcast webinar than we've used before, is they are rebranding some things. So one of the big rebrands is products are now called apps, and that change is already happening. If you go to like an admin hub within Atlassian at admin.atlassian.com, it no longer says products on the top menu bar, it says apps instead. And so that's slowly rolling out across the whole ecosystem as well as individual instances of Jira, Confluence, Admin Hub. They're also changing the word issue, finally. It's only been 20 years or more, to work. So we're going to have work types, work items, things like that. So if you're used to that side of the world in Microsoft, this is a great change for you. And if you're a human that doesn't work in tech, this is also going to be a great change. So for all of my museum and nonprofit and business clients out there, this is going to be really helpful. I'm already seeing that change. They have signs up all over their documentation, and I'm starting to see it change in some instances of Jira, particularly some of our client instances. Also, they are adding some bundling concepts. There's one here, and there's a really big one coming up. So one of the bundles that they're discussing is something called platform apps. And you can see the slide here from the keynote. You can tell where I was sitting in the room. So Atlassian Home, which is a landing place for anybody using all Atlassian products, Goals, formerly Atlas, Teams, and also Project Updates is also in there, but they're not calling that an app for some reason. The concept of Teams, which you can also now have managed teams that are connected to a group, which is wonderful. Search, they consider search a cross-platform functionality, which is great. So that's now a platform app. Chat, which is a piece of Rovo. Studio, which is well, we'll go into Studio in a minute. Analytics, which is for enterprise only, and the admin hub, where you can control everything within an organization. So those are all platform apps being bundled together. I think it's more of a directional value proposition than anything, more substantive than that. These are things you already had. They just have kind of a new name now. The platform is changing too. So Atlassian really wants to get more clients on cloud, and there were a lot of barriers for people still on data center, and they just knocked down two very large barriers. One is for US federal government entities. So they have an Atlassian government cloud, which is exclusively for the US government. It is FedRAMP moderated, FedRAMP moderate rated, and it's available now. And then coming next year, they will have Atlassian Isolated Cloud, which is a dedicated infrastructure, single tenant environment. So that is going to basically open up Atlassian Cloud for a lot of compliance locked clients. And yeah, again, I think this is great for Atlassian and for the clients that really want to get on cloud. They want to get the newest pieces of cloud. One interesting question that I've heard floating out there is, hey, that's cool, but what happens with AI, and how's that going to be available or not be available in these clouds? I have no idea. If I had to guess, I would say it would not be immediately available just because of general security concerns. Not that I think Atlassian's AI is insecure, but I think the fundamental nature of the way that AI works would have people interested in these platforms concerned about that. That is a good time to talk about. I really trust Atlassian's AI. Everything is not like nobody learns on your data. Your data is isolated just to you, all of that. But not being an InfoSec expert, I would say that they're probably not going to turn AI on right away for these platforms. But a great new availability for all of the new functions on Atlassian Cloud for people that formerly couldn't get them. All right, and then they listed a ton of product updates, and all of these are very exciting. The biggest one is Rovo, which is Atlassian's agentic and chat and search AI product, is now effectively free, and I use that in air quotes, for all paid tiers. So that's going to be Enterprise, Premium, and Standard. Enterprise and Premium are starting very soon. I actually thought it was going to start this week. I have not seen it pop up in some of my client sites yet, but if not now, then very, very soon. And then making Rovo available on Standard is going to come later this year. Now, I say free in asterisks because it's going to be subject to future consumption limits that are going to be tier rated. At least that's what it sounds like so far. I feel like every AI company is figuring out what the business model for AI is right now. Just like any new commodity, the price continues to drop, which is great. Atlassian wanted to do this, they said many times in many different ways, because they see AI is the future. It's no longer a nice to have. It's no longer an add-on. It needs to be core to the products. And I think to stay competitive as well as give their clients a first-class experience, they said, all right, we can't gate this anymore. With the rate limiting, I find that very interesting. If you guys remember whenever automation rolled out, kind of the same way, they were like, there's going to be limits. We don't know what they are yet. So they had to see how it was going to be used first. And then, I don't know, not so long ago, we started seeing actual limits based on your tiers and seeing those limits specifically enforced. So that's going to happen with this. They're just going to have to figure it out eventually. I don't think that the rate limiting will be such a problem because, if you're on Standard, you're probably a smaller footprint, less data. It's less costly for Atlassian to run it, but we will have to wait and see. Another piece of Rovo announcement is that data residency is now in limited availability. I think that means US first and then probably some more later on. But we didn't see a whole lot of information about that, just limited availability. So more to come. Data residency will be available, which will also unblock AI for those previously mentioned highly restricted clients within those single tenant cloud environments. They're going to add a search connector to Jira Data Center from Rovo, and they already have one for Confluence Data Center. So this is great. For companies, including our own, that still have some things on a data center instance of Confluence, you'll be able to be in Rovo Cloud and search enterprise-wide, including your Atlassian data center products. And if you're not totally familiar with Rovo, like the big, just incredible appeal to it is that you can search from an Atlassian product or from a browser add-on, and you can have it connected to all of the sources of knowledge that your enterprise has. So they have numerous connectors, more coming every week. You can connect it to SharePoint, Google Drive. That's just two simple but very powerful examples. And so when you ask a question of Rovo, hey, tell me about my company's vacation policy, and also please apply it to me and cite your sources, it will do just that. It will show you all the information, give you links, but only give you the information that you have access to see. So really powerful. We're already using it internally, and it's been incredibly helpful. It's saved tons of time, and it's different than like asking ChatGPT something. This is the knowledge that's already been approved by your business, which is wonderful. They also added, just like ChatGPT and some other AI products, a deep research function, so you can have it reason and dive deeper into something. They're also adding new prepackaged agents, which are specialized for various business functions. I think this is a big piece of helping adoption. Some people, get it's like everybody was handed like a Mustang and they have no idea what to do with it, and so they're adding little helpful pieces like, here's your driving assistant, here's your track planning assistant. I don't know what people do with Mustangs, but there we go. But they have a lot of really cool looking agents that will make life easier. The coolest one that I heard a long time ago was like a marketing maven, they called it, but basically it has access and knowledge of your company's branding guidelines, and anybody can come use it. Oh, and also the tone that you want to use, and anybody can come ask that agent to help edit like a press release or a social media release, or even help fix up a sales presentation. And they keep adding new agent actions, which were formerly called skills. Yeah, so there's that. There is an open question about whether AI will be added to the free tier. Who knows? I'm sure Atlassian is not, super motivated to do that yet, especially when they have a lot of paying clients to help first. But given that there are free AI products out there, I wouldn't be surprised if they added it, but I'd be very surprised if they did it anytime soon. All right, bundles. Also, if there's any questions in the chat, let me know and we can stop and talk about those too. So the next bundle is probably the most interesting. They've made a couple of app collections, app formerly product, with more likely to follow. The first one is called the Teamwork Collection. It gives you seats to Jira, Confluence, and Loom. Although you can still buy all those products separately, so don't worry about that. It's going to be sold by tier, so Teamwork Collection Standard, Premium, or Enterprise. Premium and up includes Guard standard licenses. Guard is the Atlassian connectivity app to allow you to run single sign-on and user provisioning from your company's, I can't think of the name, catalog of users. There's a better word for that out there. We don't have pricing yet. I've tried to get pricing and I can't get it. I don't know if you have, Robert, but pricing should be coming. But currently you have to reach out to sales.
Yeah, I think the pricing will be coming out soon, but we don't have that at the moment.
Yeah. And what they said is that if you buy a bundle, you will get net higher AI consumption limits than buying the individual products separately. So we'll see if that happens. But either way, clearly they want you to buy the bundle. And I love this rebranding. They've done some other rebranding too, like especially around Trello, which we'll talk about towards the end. But Trello is now personal productivity, which I think mentally separates it from these other teamwork enterprise apps, which is really helpful. And so Atlassian's basically saying everybody needs Jira, Confluence, and Loom to work with their teams, and everybody needs Trello to manage their own personal productivity. And I really appreciate that sort of mental separation. There's the announcement of the Teamwork Collection. And then they also have the strategy collection. The strategy collection is structured slightly differently than the teamwork collection. The teamwork collection, you can buy all those apps separately. The strategy collection, you cannot. The strategy collection, you have to buy the whole thing. So this includes Focus, Talent, and Jira Align. Focus was announced last year. Jira Align was an acquisition from 2019. Talent is brand new, so we'll talk about that next. But basically, what it means is that you're going to buy Jira Align seats, and you'll get Focus and Talent for free. Will they unbundle these later? Who knows? But currently, all three of those apps come together now. So the one way to think about it is, if you're already a Jira Align client, you're getting 2 more highly functional apps for free.
Brian, just one quick thing. I was just reviewing this prior to our meeting. Sorry to interrupt, but
Oh yeah.
one of the things I realized is these are all focused on enterprise companies. So I think like people that use Align, they are enterprise. So the bundle this might not be something that will actually sell a lot because not there are not so many enterprises.
Yeah.
But and one of the things I saw is that these tools talk to each other a lot, different from the other bundle, which is just the normal tools. But these ones, they are all specifically connected. So I don't really see this ever debundling, maybe even merging these tools, but uh, as like as enterprise, something enterprise focused, I don't see someone, for example, using just talent. I don't know if you agree with me.
How much are we allowed to speculate on this webinar?
As much as we want.
By all
Okay.
means.
Okay. All right. So I heard, and again, like none of this is promised. These are just product managers chatting casually on the floor. I've heard, and part of me is worried about saying this only because like Atlassian's not going to do it in a dangerous way, in the way that I might describe this. But what I see them hopefully doing in the future is bringing more and more of the Jira Align functions into the Atlassian native platform. So, for example, I heard somebody chat about, well, I mean, you've already seen some of it. Like the program board is now available in plans, for example, but it's limited at the higher tier. Um, Jira Align style dependency management, which is awesome, like, and such a great way to manage cross-team dependencies. That may be coming to the platform. So yeah, to your point, I think that all of these are going to be for higher tiers. I don't know if it's always going to be in just a Jira Align model or not. I don't think they're getting rid of Jira Align. I think they're going to continue to enhance it, but one of those enhancements may be that it is just the enterprise tier of the platform. So yes, and and I hope they do that. The only one of these that I wish that they would open up is Focus right now. Talent is still really new. Focus only because the concept of focus areas and dedicating resource and budgets to those focus areas makes a lot of sense. And like a focus area is still different than a goal. I mean, or to me, it's like the ultimate goal. Infuse AI across our company, or I thought of another one too for a demo, but I can't remember what it is now. But these are like major investment initiatives, and I think that like mid-market companies do have that. They certainly don't need the horsepower of Align, and I don't know if they're doing enterprise planning like Talent would, but just the focus area piece, I would love to see spread out more. But we still have goals, we still have project updates. But yeah, that's a really good point.
And also, it's the first time I see Atlassian really bringing the idea of budget inside of one of their tools, like using this specific word, which
Yeah,
means in the future we might be touching
an
more.
Atlassian ERP.
Yes,
Watch out, NetSuite. Yeah. All right. Product number 2 that was announced, Studio. So this isn't a bundle. This is just a new product, and we'll talk about Talent in a minute too, which was also mentioned in a bundle earlier. Studio is going to be, as I heard it, a platform for builders emphasizing low and no code. And I should just say that all of this I got from the keynote, and then I spent 16 hours on the floor just asking people questions and attending product demos and sessions. So this is like maybe not exactly what was announced, but also gleaned from just private conversations. It's currently, though, it's nothing more than a landing page, to be perfectly honest. It will be something more. Currently, it's just a landing page for agents, automation, assets, and the Confluence Company Hub. Now, they say company hubs, which I find interesting because that could also mean customer hubs potentially in the future for the customer service management app that was also announced. So right now, it's just a landing page, but they really emphasize this is going to be a place to do integrated building. And I like that they're carving out a mental space for that. You know, we have people tracking work, and then we have power users that are building functional tools for the business. And as a space to do that, I think it's great to carve out that space, if for nothing else than just to create that mental model. So more is coming. Forge is on the slide, but when you talk to people, Forge isn't there yet. And so we're going to kind of see where that shows up. But this is going to be the building space, basically. Focus. So Focus, which is bundled in strategy, like we said, this is Atlassian's enterprise strategy management app. It allows you to associate work, teams, goals, and funds into a specific focus area, the focus area being like a major company initiative. I like that Jira is separating intake with JPD and JSM. They're separating work with Jira, and they're elevating the concept of goals and company strategy into the focus area. So I think of focus areas as company strategy. Goals are KPI moving objectives, increase X by Y%. But basically, focus areas will become the top level of strategy for the company in this model. So there we go. There's the example, such as a cloud transformation or infusing AI across the enterprise. Focus areas have their own hierarchy, and then you associate goals, teams, work, and funding to those focus areas. This confused the heck out of me at first until I saw some good examples, and now I was like, yeah, this is definitely the way to go. This is now in general availability, GA. That was the big announcement for Focus in Anaheim. But as I talked to the PMs, there's some cool coming features. One is, and this one really fascinated me, customizable visualizations. So they're going to use, they've done a great job of componentizing their code base. Hundreds of microservices, thousands maybe. And so they're going to take analytics visualization components to be able to create custom focus area visualizations, which will then combine into dashboards. So for example, one thing that I want to visualize is run the business versus change the business percentage of work within a focus area. And so you may be able to, in the future, configure a visualization object to be based on a particular custom field. And then you would associate work tagged in that custom field to a focus area. And then you could see run the business versus change the business percentage. Like on a dashboard, real information, don't have to go to Power BI. Some other examples would be, visualize percentage of work done by region. If you have like a regional single select option and then associated with work, visualizing CapEx versus OpEx projects, that sort of stuff. Also coming is connection to financial software. The dirty secret right now is that the budget piece is just a manual update. It's just a field in a focus area. But they told me they have, I think, one or more CPAs that really care about finances on the product design team for this, and they are looking at their highest target, most used connectivity, kind of like Workday with the HRIS and Talent, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then also coming will be the ability to tie a focus area to multiple cost centers, which would also be very cool. So you can see your spend, much like the Jira Align reports, if you have Jira Align set up perfectly, but this will be much more customizable to your enterprise. Talent. Talent is Atlassian's new enterprise workforce planning tool. Basically, the intent is to make they emphasize high-level decision-making around workforce investment. So this is not, should I move Bob from team A to team B or project A to project B? This is, should I move whole teams or whole swaths of developers or swaths of managers into a different area based on our strategy? The two major objects in this tool are going to be positions and workers. Someone described positions as an investment vehicle, which I found really interesting. And I like that more than calling a human a resource, which I like. So we're going to put a human into an investment vehicle. Cool. And then they're going to tie that position to a focus area. Workers tied to positions and workers also tied to work items. This is actually used internally by Atlassian now. I think the project name was Radar, and now it's in beta. I want to say this one's in open beta. I think there's another one that's in closed beta. And this was a great quote from one of the PMs that I really appreciated. When considering whether to increase or maintain allocations for specific AI projects, internally we use talent to map engineers to projects. Then we could look at projected ROI for those projects to make informed decisions about where to put our investments in real time without losing speed. So high-level workforce planning. Currently, it's thin, but it's growing. So right now you can see HRIS data in Jira. They added some native Workday connectors for it, which is really cool. We actually built a Workday connector for a client not so long ago. So it's nice to see that see this becoming native. So like one of the triggers is going to be whenever a new user is added to Workday, you can consume that information via automation for Jira. Well, or automation as a platform app. You'll be able to visualize filled and unfilled positions, worker tenure. So basically, you'll be able to bring HRIS idea into Atlassian, or data into Atlassian alongside your work, alongside your focus areas, and then you can group those people by focus area. We'll be able to tie positions to focus areas, and we'll be able to connect workers. That's the value that exists today. So currently, it's less swivel chairing. In the future, there will be other HRIS connectors. There will be skilling and scenario planning. So eventually, you'll be able to do a lot more. This is a screenshot from it. So you see, like, all right, these are this is a summary of our positions, graphs of tenure, graphs of location. We have unfilled positions. We have focus areas, and then we can group by, group by reporting line, group by focus area. And to your point earlier, Ariel, this is very closely tied with focus, and therefore also Jira line. And then here's an example of somebody else's screenshot of just internal positions. So we see Annie Claire, we have the job, the focus area, the tenure, the country. So again, currently less swivel chairing. All right, customer service management. This one got me the most excited. I spent, I think, 2 hours chatting up some very kind people about this app because it was not totally clear to me the value proposition first of this over JSM. I also don't manage customer service, but now I feel like I know a lot more about it. So this is aimed at supporting external customers with an excellent, cohesive experience. Like that's the tagline. It'll also bring developers and customer service closer together. It's also going to be AI first. This is so currently Loom is either on Freshdesk or Zendesk. I want to say Fresh. I don't know, maybe one of those. Atlassian acquired Loom. They're going to move their customer support onto this new product. So, dog fooding at its best. It's now in a closed beta. So why did they make this? Atlassian was losing share to Zendesk. JSM was not enough of an excellent customer-centric experience. And the way that they described that miss to me was that you show up, you have to land on a certain service desk, a certain, like within your portal, and then the request types are sort of inextricably tied to that desk and the teams that work behind them. Instead, they want to separate that out and create two kind of functional areas: a customer hub and the agent project that handles the tickets that are generated from the hub behind it. But these are separate. So we have a layer of customer hub, maybe hubs, and a layer of teams supporting those hubs. So they're fundamentally disconnected now. Each customer hub will control the entire experience for a group of customers. So for example, all of our broad-based customers and all of our marketplace partners, they're going to land in a different hub. They're going to have a different experience. Each hub is going to have its own dedicated AI agent. So the tone will be different, the knowledge will be different, the forms that it has access to will be different. So if I'm a general, front door customer, it's going to be an empathetic tone and it's not going to know anything about a partner program. But if I'm a partner, it's going to be highly correlated to that knowledge. So like if you imagine you land in a hub, the center is an AI chat. And there's also forms and links and stuff, but really it's I need help with X. And then it's going to understand AI contextually what forms to access, and then it's going to fill out that form for you and then route that form to the correct team. So why would you have separate teams? One of the ideas I heard was that there's some like Atlassian car manufacturer user, and they have like an EU privacy issue, and so like none of the data can leave the EU. So the customer hub may take everybody, but if you're in the EU, it's going to route it specifically just to that team. Another example would be, well, actually, that was the best example I heard. Yeah. So different customer experiences, different teams supporting them on the back end. You'll also be able to route based on customer entitlements. So maybe there's like a white glove, customer team in their own project that's going to handle this kind of work. And we will know based on the customer attributes which team to route that to. So again, the intake workflow is you chat with an agent. Maybe the agent helps you fill out a form, or you just jump right to the form. It then routes to the correct CSM project and queue. You can also do email intake. Website widgets are coming soon. The biggest question I had was, how is this different than JSM? So the big differences are JSM portals are tied to a specific project. CSM is decoupled from where the work lands. CSM doesn't use request types. It just uses forms and issue types on the back end. JSM will continue to be the go-to product for internal request and form-based intake. Think like enterprise service management, everything but the customer in a way. Everything but the external customer. And CSM will have centralized configuration control to ensure consistent customer experiences. So maybe you've experienced this, but like JSM project admins have an incredible amount of power to adapt the customer experience. They can change forms, add existing fields, remove fields, update queues, all of that stuff. I think that they'll be able to do that on the agent side of things to change the queuing, but the customer experience is going to be much more tightly controlled and intentionally, so that nobody can accidentally break a customer experience for the intake. We can change all day long how we handle that work, but the customer experience will remain pristine. In the future, they talked about being able to view customer escalations from a CSM project in a Jira project, basically like an option in the left-hand nav, show me customer escalations, and it'll just reflect the ones out of the other project over here. So like a dev team from within their own project could see relevant escalations. So they want to get dev and customers closer together. Agents in the CSM projects will be able to see active incidences on products. We'll be able to add status page updates to customer hubs. Customer info will be available across the platform as a first-class object, of course, respecting data privacy. And integrations in order of potentiality. So social messaging, yeah, coming. Live chat, maybe. AI telephony, maybe. Live telephony, Vine integration, ooh, that feels a bit far away. So anybody holding out for that, I would wait on that. But this looks like an awesome experience. I did not get a good screenshot of what I wanted to. What I wanted to screenshot was a portal that had form options and data and like info options and an AI chat bar right there in the middle. But what you see here is like the AI said, hey, we actually have a product request for that over in JPD. Here's a link to the public ticket for it. So smarter customer service. I hope it's smarter, because my experience with customer service in most companies right now that's AI based is actually pretty bad, and I just mash the button until I get a human again. But I actually have a lot of faith in Atlassian's ability to do it right. Yeah, and then this is an example of some of the forms on the back end that relate directly to an issue type. And you can see, again, there's no request type in this world. So a fundamentally different way of thinking about customer service, but one that is very specifically customer service oriented, not service management oriented, which is like kind of blowing my mind now. And I like that they're separating it. And then there is another screenshot of customer data and requests relating to this organization and all the customers in that org.
Do we know if the customer orgs will be shared between JSM and CSM?
I can't imagine them not being. And I would also imagine that the org concept, which always seemed to me not so helpful for like internal ESM, like it's really like just a CSM kind of concept. So shared, if not entirely ported over. I think they got to figure out too, like what's the business model for this, and how much do they want to separate the two to make you buy both if you need to or not. Not that I think it's malicious to do that. I like that they're focusing on different functional areas so that people can only pay for what they need. All right, JSM. They briefly mentioned journeys. This was the hardest one to get info about. There was like one person in the whole conference that knows about this. And they were wonderful to talk to. So if they're watching, thank you. So you can see a screenshot here in a JSM project of a journey. And basically what it looks like is simpler automation, more user-friendly automation. I mean, this basically is automation. When a new employee is added in a workday, then create a task, make a bunch of tasks. I think that they're going to use this to branch out further and maybe make it into a cross-product concept. It may also die on the vine, who knows? But onboarding HR for business teams is really important right now. And especially if they want to get more of that work management out of an HRIS and into Jira. So they may make it cross-product because it's going to involve Confluence and maybe spinning up Trello boards and all of that stuff. I know that Atlassian internally loves the idea of a Trello board as like a personal onboarding journey management system. So there's just not a lot of information here, but customer journeys TBD. This one, though, was something really cool from that conversation that came up. They mentioned, so Jira notoriously doesn't have field level security. And so we can either do work item, new branding, level security, or we can do project security, or we can do whole instance security, but not field level. And I think that they looked internally at doing this, and it was going to be like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in a year to like get field level security. And is that worth it or not? So they found a workaround, restricted forms. So they're going to be adding the ability to put private data on a form that's only visible to the right users. So you can hide that information in a form on a work item like salary, shipping address, whatever, and make it only available to the right people, which is going to be really important for things like onboarding or managing workforce changes. And then this person also mentioned this, which got no announcement anywhere that I ever saw. There's no, sorry, it's the one down here. We'll get to that later. Native automation integrations. So they added Workday triggers. There's an action to retrieve worker details, and there's a trigger when an employee is added to Workday. Coming in order, probably Okta, Workatoo, DocuSign, Microsoft Entra. So this will also potentially mean that less need for third-party marketplace apps to do connectivity to those things, which will be great for customers. They're adding playbooks into JSM. I think a lot of us have seen these already. This is such a cool idea. Basically, you assign a playbook based on JQL. What's the request type? Why else would this playbook show up? It shows up on a ticket ready for the agent to act on, and it has a combination of physical things that you should do, like, hey, you need to triage this. you need to ask some questions. And then it has like automations that you just click run on and it triggers an automation. So like, password reset, step 1, confirm identity. Step 2, click run password reset function. So this is going to speed up internal service management tremendously, I think. Really cool idea there. This is the one that like they told me like never got announced. Form data now is accessible in a smart value. So if you want to snag data from a JSM form and act on it in an automation, you no longer are required to connect that form data to a Jira field to pull that data. Yeah, totally didn't get announced. I think it's available now. I haven't tried it yet, but like that's gonna be really helpful. I mean, forms themselves are incredibly helpful for getting data that you don't necessarily want to generate a field for. So yeah, surprise. Assets. Assets is going from 3 million assets to 10 million assets. I think this is where like the horns come out. Also, Data Manager is going to be able to schedule imports. And this is another, like, I want to dive into details, but I think this is going to eliminate the need for third-party connectivity apps for things like Entra ID. So we should theoretically be able to schedule a recurring import from an external system, including things like Entra ID or an HRIS, get that data into assets in that golden record that Data Manager talks about, which would be great. It's just that you can't schedule imports yet in cloud. You can schedule imports in data center, I think, right now, but not in cloud. And so that's like the one thing that's holding people back. But Data Manager is in beta, so exciting things to come there. Also, number 3 is one that I got the impression talking to people, but no business plan yet. But because assets is more than just JSM, Atlassian famously, had a company that tracked pianos. Assets track humans. Assets track assets. And so it seemed like there might be a possibility to decouple assets from the JSM product to emphasize the use of assets platform-wide. I think you saw up there, I want to say like in Studio, assets was listed there too. Do I have that right? Yeah. So building assets in Studio, this sort of implies the idea that it's not just JSM anymore. And so I don't know what that will do to the licensing model. I'm very curious to see. Maybe in the future you won't need a JSM license to access assets, and maybe assets will be tier limited. I don't know. So possibilities there. Jira Product Discover Premium is now in GA, general availability. That was the big announcement for JPD. Cross-project JPD roadmaps, view restrictions, AI, unlimited storage, all the standard premium tier stuff after that. A 99.9% uptime, a sandbox is coming. And then later, I also heard potentially for all of JPD, not sure if it's just premium or not. I don't know how you could do this just for premium, but idea hierarchy is one of them. And then differentiated idea types. So an idea versus maybe an opportunity versus a solution versus an experiment. Those are just some of the examples that I saw on a screenshot. So maybe different issue types within a JPD project coming up. Work item types, sorry. Jira, it's funny that the Jira announcements are at the bottom. Like some of these were just, thrown out last minute. 100,000 users supported. Wow. Threaded comments and work items. Yes, I am so excited about that. That's going to make Jira tickets so much easier to read. Public intake forms for all Jira projects, not just JSM. I think that's available now, at least in a number of instances. You can't have a no anonymous access security policy in place org-wide and use that function, but still the ability, and you don't have to make anonymous access available for create issue in that project. So it's like an actual like public intake form that you don't have to like open up Jira for, which is cool. Custom project templates are coming. That's huge. We all faked those for years, and now that's going to be an idea. and an improved list view, but I actually think that one's already been rolled out. I didn't see any additional improvements. But if you haven't seen them, you can do like conditional formatting in the list view now, which is pretty cool. Possible future enhancements, like I mentioned before, bringing Jira line-like dependency management to the whole platform. One of the Jira PMs mentioned milestone functionality in plans. They know it's a problem. Jira line-like milestone functionality would be great. Currently, it's a pain to sort of fake a release into showing a milestone marker. So it might be that plans might better handle milestones. And also, they know that individual capacity management has been a challenge for a number of customers. It's on their radar. I don't think it's on their roadmap, but it is on their radar. Confluence, 150,000 users now supported. Live pages coming to general availability. Live pages are great. Basically, it's a Google Doc, a Word doc, alongside published official pages. So you can have your working docs that everyone's editing, and it's open and always editable. And then you can have the officially published policy that's the result of that. And both of those can coexist harmoniously within Confluence. Whiteboards are getting more and more improvements, and also whiteboard data is part of the teamwork graph, which is an underlying functionality across all Atlassian products. It's their data layer that is searchable and actionable, modifiable by Rovo. I want to say that at some point, like Rovo will be able to edit whiteboards, I think is a skill that's coming, or an action. And Confluence databases are also seeing iterative improvements. The new navigation is coming, if not already here. It's in our client demo sites. I want to say that just about every site that I've been on with a client now has the option to force it on or not. We have a video hunting out on YouTube available for that. It's 10 minutes, and it walks through all the different new UI functionality. But it's coming, and if you're on premium, if you have any premium tier product, it's going to be here by mid-June. So it's coming. Loom AI for meetings is now generally available. I've been using it. It's pretty cool. It's basically a note-taking companion that shows up to your scheduled meetings and generates artifacts, not artifices, such as documentation and action items. And I think this is the last one. Yeah, Trello. Okay, so Trello, like I mentioned before, is rebranding to personal productivity. You'll be able to view Jira work in Trello. That's available now. Super cool function. We also have a video on our YouTube channel about that. But basically, you can write a query and then have Trello cards show up that reflect those Jira items, and you can live update the status from Trello. So the idea there is it really is personal productivity, because personal productivity is a combination of talk to boss about X and look into hiring person Y, and also a list of Jira tasks that I have to do. They added card mirroring, so you can see the same card on multiple boards if you're on a paid Trello plan. They added an inbox a la getting things done methodology from David Allen. So there's now, like, per user, a central place to collect all of your ideas, and then you can move them into appropriate lists. And then they're also adding a planner to any paid. You can view a calendar, your own calendar, currently only Google Calendar, if you're on the free tier, and if you're on a paid tier, you'll be able to drag and drop cards onto that calendar to create like focus times for that particular task. And then those are going to be mutually linked. That's it. So much update. I hope that wasn't too rambly.
Yeah, no, it was
No,
awesome.
that was great.
Yeah.
That's a huge update. That's amazing.
There could have been 3 different teams for this many updates.
Exactly.
Some of those they went through like 5 seconds per slide. They were like, oh yeah, Jira does this now, and this, and this, and this. Any one of which would have gotten like its own big announcement like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
This is the most announcements I've ever seen. And somebody, it may have been you, Robert, I think, that said this. I really appreciated this. It was like, this is post the first wave of AI assisted development, and so they are a feature factory. I actually think that's a pejorative term. I'm not supposed to use that, but they are generating a lot of features as a result of their newfound productivity, and it shows.
This is great. This is fantastic for everybody.
Yeah.
We
Did
do
any
have
questions?
a few questions on chat. Let me pull here. Okay, one. What's the difference between JSM and the new CSM?
Yeah, so I think Atlassian is still figuring out the branding of this, but to me, the key differentiating factors, and maybe this came before I covered this. Yeah, here. So CSM is a separate customer hub versus the agent project. Decouples that. CSM is AI agent first. They're going to sit in the middle of the CSM experience. CSM doesn't have request types. And for me, like the litmus test is this for internal clients and is it for like enterprise service management? Is it legal? Is it HR? Is it finance? Is it IT? Okay, that's probably JSM. Is it an external customer that is using your product as a consumer or even a B2B consumer, then that's probably going to be CSM.
Will talent replace our HR system?
No, definitely not. Talent is going to pull in data from your HRIS system. And this is kind of like Atlassian's. I was actually just going through a new sales module and they were like, we don't make, business line specific products. We make products that interact with all of your business line products and basically manage the work between those. It's like the connective tissue. So no, yeah, your HRIS is definitely sticking around. I would recommend not running work in your HRIS. I would use it as an HRIS and then do the onboarding work in Jira. But yeah.
This is a good one. How is Focus different from Jira Align?
Whew. I think Focus is like taking the cream off of the Jira Align milk jug. Like everything that floated to the top, like that's going to be Focus. So Jira Line, are we supposed to say this? I'm not sure. Jira Line is still a safe, friendly, let's say aggressively friendly platform. But there's features that benefit every enterprise that are only found in Jira Line right now. And, some of those were the program board. So Focus is going to take a lot of that high level stuff and make it available in a more Atlassian native platform. Again, I think Atlassian is still figuring out the enterprise layer in a good way and directionally excellent. And this is just part of them figuring it out.
And from what I understand, Focus also is where Atlassian took a lot of the feedback about Jira Align, where people were hoping to just for a better experience or how to find their information more easily, and they've implemented it there.
Yes, totally.
Okay, another one. Will existing projects and workflows break with the new navigation or platform changes?
Not in my experience yet. Everything I saw was everything's the same number of clicks and sometimes fewer. Because changing between things is a bit easier. It was funny, like one of the devs on the new UI did like an AMA and got roasted, which is typical for stuff like this, I think. But some of the complaints I think really weren't justified. One of them is that like, oh, I have to scroll all the time. Well, okay, so star the things that you scroll to all the time, and it's right there at the top always. It's 2 clicks away, no matter where you are in the product now. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna break anything. When I was testing it originally in beta, like some stuff messed up, but everything I've seen live now is good. Do you guys like the new UI?
There's a bit of a learning curve, and I think
Yeah.
it's just because there's motor, I'm trying muscle memory.
Yep.
That's the term. So there's
Yep.
muscle memory. Like I know where to go for settings. I know where to go for this. I know where to go for this. And I get there and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't know where to go. 5 minutes later, wow, I love this. It is so much better.
I've been on it for a week, and it's I
remember the first time they tried that left side panel navigation.
It was terrible.
Oh, I did not like that one. This is better.
Yeah.
I think they got it right this time.
Yeah,
because
it does take a little getting used to, like you said. I agree.
Yep, exactly.
It's a different bicycle, but it's still a bicycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I think we have 2 more. Are bundles required, or can we still buy products separately?
Teamwork products still separate, so you can just buy Jira or just buy Loom or just buy Confluence. Talent and focus must be purchased with Jira Align currently.
And last one, are there any licensing changes required to use the new features?
No, not yet. CSM, right? It's still in closed beta, so much like a lot of Atlassian products, it's going to be free for that closed beta, just like JPD was, and then eventually they'll figure out the pricing model. But no. Oh, going back to the past question though, I'm super intrigued by the bundle only because like I've got some clients that are just Jira, but man, they would benefit from Confluence and Loom. And if there's a way to, I mean, I think they actually see the value of Loom more than Confluence because they use SharePoint, but they don't realize that life could be so much better somewhere else. And so like if maybe if one of those products becomes effectively free when you buy the other two, that may be a great way to get people onto this integrated platform.
I have one question. I'm going to bet that it's going to be on people's minds. So for existing JSM customers that have both internal and external customers, would they need to go to CSM, or
Great
can they
question.
stay with where they are?
I got the impression that they weren't going to pull any functionality away. Now they made no promises, and I didn't really ask. But everything that they said sounded a lot like JSM is going to keep being JSM, but they're going to start putting more customer focused features over there. And I think people are going to be naturally pulled over there because, like, when I think about JSM, it is kind of hard to convince somebody if you're like a consumer facing company to come to this portal, make an account, and or even put in a form in general. I think if you have a lot of people that have to consume your products, that's a lot easier. But if you're going for that world class white glove customer experience that's AI backed, I think you're going to want to go to CSM. Also, the CSM AI agents are really Rovo agents, as I understand, on the back end, and they are not the virtual agent that currently exists, which is much more deterministic.
Gotcha. Do we have any more from the audience?
We're good.
All right. So thank you, Brian. This has been immensely helpful.
Well, thank you guys. It's fun to rattle about products that I love. This has been really enjoyable. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good day, guys.
Bye, team. Thanks for joining.